Hi friends, welcome back to La Rue de Fleurs studio. Actually, today we're in the kitchen because we are going to sew together a few of these Scrappy oven mitts and make a little fun for our daily routine by creating little curated quilts for our hands that we can use every day to bring a smile on our face. So I hope that you will stay with me and let's make some Scrappy oven mitts. Okay, so for this one today, I am creating panels so that I can do 2 at a time. So I have measured my pattern and I am just going to cut a couple of panel pieces of the Insulbright to what I need, and then I will dig through my scrap bins and find the amount of pieces that I need to cover it. So we're just creating kind of like an improv panel, and then we will cut out the oven mitts from the panel that we've created. So I just have a yardage cut. I got, I think, about 3 yards, so I'm hoping this will get me about 12 oven mitts. Give or take, I'll make as many as I can for my order. And then the pieces that are left over from what I'm cutting right here, I will use to make little pot holders later. So I have this much left over. That's about 17 inches. So if I fold that in half, I can get to, like about 8-ish inch. Yeah, they're about 8-inch pot holders then too at the end of this, because I need 28 by 9. That's how long I'm cutting my panel. For the oven mitts. And this is Insulbright, so it's got that heat resistant coating on it. So it doesn't have to be super thick to have the resistance to burning. So once I have my panels here, I am going to start rooting through my bin. And for this one, I'm going to do blue. I had a request for blue, so we're gonna just dump out the blue bin and have a look and see what is inspiring in here. That's really it. There's nothing to it too much beyond that. It's just, I sort of look through and see what I have to work with, what are big enough cuts to bother with. So I love this Tula because then I can pull in a range of different blues and other colors. So I think I would probably set that one aside to use, and I have multiple pieces of it because, like I showed in my other video, you want to have multiple pieces so that it can coordinate and look like it goes together on both sides. And I'm only using cotton. Don't use anything else because it could melt in the oven and you most definitely would not want that. So I am just looking through, trying to find what else goes with it. I don't want to use just stuff that was in the collection. Like that would be way too easy, but this might be great for lining one. So I will set that aside because I have a nice big piece of that yet. And then I'm just gonna look for what other colors. So I have some of this light blue that I think would work really nicely, and I have a couple pieces of that. I have this in a bunch of different sizes. I did set off some of this chevron, although I don't want to do too much of that. I have like a piece of darker aqua green color. I have this like little leaf print. I might look and see if I have more of that somewhere. I do have these, but I don't like to do too much white just because I tend to stain my oven mitts. So I don't like anything that's too white. Actually, do we like... No, I don't like those blues together. So I will just root around, and then whenever I think I don't really see anything else, I'll try to pull a different accent color. Okay, I am going to have to get out something else, some other bin. I'm not seeing a ton in here actually that I like with that. Okay, so here is what I have so far. I'm going to base off of this really colorful Tula pink print with the hexagons. I have like a little tiny bit of this leaf. I feel like I have more of that somewhere, but I don't know where. Some of that too. I have plain like light blue. I have some of this aqua. I have this darker strip that has those similar colors. I actually don't like this with it now that I have these other things going on. Okay, so I am going to go maybe try to find, I don't know, something else that can pop against this. Okay, I have some vintage I have some vintage feed sack print here, which I actually do like with some of these more graphic, modern colors and pieces. I think this is going to be cute, so I'm just going to start laying out what I have to work with. This isn't exactly scrap, but I feel fine cutting into it. I've had it for a while, so this will just be, you know, open use. So I just lay out my panel that I want to cover, and I start placing pieces. I want to make sure that I have enough. This will be 2 sides, so I'll fold it over and then cut my pattern out, and I want to make 2 that are similar. So I need things that span both sides and then both pieces, if that makes any sense. And I left my scissors. So I have this long strip. I'm just going to cut it in half. And now I have 2 pieces. And I'm going to lay it on the majority of my piece to get started. I'm going to try to find stuff that can finish off the ends. That's roughly the same width without my having to like really cut much. And I'm going to go over the edge a little bit because that'll help me remember that I have to leave some room for my seam allowance. Doesn't have to be exact. I don't care if they exactly line up. I just need to have one totally straight edge. And I just seriously try to like line up the same similar size pieces. And it doesn't really matter if they're perfectly aligned. And if I can, and I have like this piece is rounded, if I want to be really tricky, I would try to use that where my mitt rounds, so I don't have to waste it. I'm going to cut them off a little bit though, because the selvage is still on here. And I just keep like a garbage ball on the edge of my desk, like, you You know, like if you used to watch Rachel Ray, she always had a garbage bowl, so I only have to empty it once. And I always have somewhere to pitch my stuff as I'm working, so I don't have to slow down a whole bunch. And I think for this one, I'm just going to measure this distance and make that one big piece. So that is going to be 7, oh no, that is going to be 11 and a half by, go 11 and a half by 5 and a half. Ah, it's like it wanted to be that. Oh, it's just ever so slightly short. I think it'll be fine. Oh no, it's good. Okay. 11 and a half by 5 and a half. A little wrinkly. I could have probably ironed it. That would have been better. That'll work. And then I just need a little bit more to fill in here. I'm gonna go see if I can find some more of this. Okay, so here's my first panel, and then we will sort of use this as the template for the next one, but it's getting harder because I'm running out of scraps, so that's sort of the challenge of it, as well as the fun part, to try to figure out now I have to make one that sort of looks like it belongs with this, but I've used up certain things, so I won't be able to repeat everything. So I think that's a lot the fun, but I found 2 other semicircles that I can use up in the opposing, like, little rounded mitten corner. I have this polka dot. I'm gonna go back to this piece, which can be in the center again, but this time maybe I'll offset it like that. This is not exactly the same. Use a big piece of Okay, so I have my panels created. They fit on my Insulbright. I've just made sure I've pressed everything. And again, I have overhang in some spots. It really doesn't matter because I will cut it up and it will come off whenever I cut out my pattern. So I'm just going to make sure that it fits the way that I want it to, basically. And then I am just going to fold this in half and cut out my mitt. So I have a right and a left side, and I just want to make sure that I am going to catch that at the right spot. So I'll just lay my pattern on, and I just want to make sure that I'm catching that curved edge. If you didn't have a curved edge, you wouldn't have to worry about that. I'm actually going to come down to the bottom, and I'm lining up along the end of my thing here. I'm just making sure to eyeball that I'm going to get everything, and then I just use a couple of clover clips to hold it in place while I cut. And I simply cut out the whole way around the pattern. It's that simple. Then I move my pattern out of the way and clip it together without ever moving it, so that way I'm sure that it's lined up really well. There's no reason to move it. I'm just going to double check that everything is good, and then I cut it open on the fold at the bottom, going between all of those layers to open it up. And then I can trim off anything that doesn't line up exactly. It's a pretty forgiving pattern. And then I'm just going to do that the same for the other side. And all I have to do is take a little bit of my leftovers, and I need to make a tab for each side. So this piece I didn't even use at all, so I think I'll just use that for both tabs. I'm just going to cut it roughly in half so I can make two that match. And then I will iron those in half, and then I will iron the half in half and fold them in on each other so there's no raw edges, and that will be my little hanging tabs. I forgot for the last set that I actually go through and quilt it before I cut it out, so I had to do that after the fact. It was fine, it still worked, but I usually go ahead and add a few lines of quilting. I just do two down the entire length and two across each section of width, so 4 in total, but 2 long and then like 4 wide. And I just pick a seam and sort of line up against that. Nothing fancy. If I don't have a seam, I will just sort of eyeball a straight line. You could draw it with a Hera marker or some other marker too. Okay, that will be much easier this time. And then what I do is I've created the little tab. If you can see, my tab is folded in there. I just folded that in half like bias tape and then sewed it closed. And I'm just clipping that in place. And then I have little tags with my logo on that I also put on my oven mitts, but you could skip this step, but I just find a little spot where it's a few inches up, like an inch or two up from the top of the armband area, and I'll just stitch that down. I'll go vertical or horizontal depending on where it lines up best with the patchwork, and I just kind of tuck it into a little seam. So I'll do that after I cut out my mitt, just so I can tell where it would hit. So those are the last things, and then you just sew all the way around to connect it, and I'll show you how to turn them inside out. Again, I have created an entire video on a little bit more detail of the process a couple weeks ago, so I will link that one for you as well. This is just a little bit more about the batch that I'm working on right now for this wholesale order, and just some of the color combinations that I'm coming up with, because I think there's really endless possibilities here, kind of like the patchwork minky blankets. It's just super fun to play and have fun. So after I've sewn both pieces together, right sides together, I have gone along with my scissors and notched around the curves so that that allows the fabric to stretch and bend a little bit. And then it's time for the awesome reveal. On this set, I was inspired by Sharon Holland Wildflowers. There it is. And so I went with sort of an orchid mauve, peach, orange, and like this beautiful blue-green color. So I got a little mint tones. I've got some of that batik I used in my last quilt project. I've got some burnt orange. I have a strip of this really beautiful mineral green with some little wildflowers. I've got a yellow and a peach and all kinds of fun little use it up prints for this collection. Now I just have to add the liner. To add the liner, I've done the same thing. I've sewn some scrap fabrics that I wouldn't necessarily use in a different project. I've notched around everything. I cut it out using the pattern. I notched it. It's sewn right sides together. You take that one with the right side still, with it still inside out, and you put your right side out oven mitt into it. And again, I go over this in a lot of more detail in my how-to video for the oven mitts. But you just stuff it down in there, kind of encasing, and then you'll line it up at the seams. And I just use some clips to hold it in place. And then I'm just going to sew around that edge, leaving enough gap for me to turn it. So about the majority of one side of the circumference there will allow me to have enough to turn it inside out. And then I will go back around and top stitch that whole thing once I've turned it inside out. Okay, so here they are all done. There are a pair, kind of. I would say they go together, but they're not the same, which is my goal with these, is to use up things from the scrap bin, make something super cute. I love it. They're very patchy. We've got nice lining, got a loop to hang, little tag, everything that you need. It's Insulbright on both sides, so no matter which hand you slide it in, you're going to be protected from the heat. Yeah, super fun. Okay, so this is one batch, and we'll make some more. Okay, enough silliness. All in all, I just love working on these oven mitts. I just think the possibilities are endless, like I said before. It's so fun to root through your scrap bin and really make these little curated quilts for your hands that you can wear while you're just sort of doing the mundane task of cooking in your kitchen. I just love little things that add joy to my day and a little unexpected pop of fun. Love the color combination of that orchid and red. I wouldn't have thought of that for a larger item, but on these little oven mitts, I think it really works. So I hope you'll join me in making a whole big batch to bring a smile to your face or someone else's. Thank you so much again for joining me. Be sure to like and subscribe so that you never miss a moment of quilty stitching fun. Stay creative, friends.